Most people would say they are searching for something, searching for truth, meaning, clarity. It's so universal, so common. But what does it actually mean to search? And are we really searching at all? Welcome to Look Again, the channel where we do not tell you what is true, but where we question what you accept and assume to be true. If you look around, everybody appears to be looking for something, answers, guidance, direction, the right path. We read books, follow teachers, gurus, listen to experts, trying to understand, trying to get closer to something that feels certain in this uncertain reality. And it makes sense. Not knowing can indeed be uncomfortable, especially in the modern day life. So naturally, we look for something to hold on to. But in that moment, what are we actually looking for? Is it understanding? Or just something that feels convincing enough to settle the discomfort? Data, titles, achievements, peer reviews. Do these bring clarity? Or do they bring a sense of certainty that feels just close enough? Here's a simple question. When you say you're searching, what are you actually doing in that moment? Are you really searching, or are you simply accepting something you've been given by others? Have you noticed what happens when uncertainty appears? That small moment where something doesn't quite make sense. What do we usually do there? Do we stay with it, with that discomfort, or do we immediately reach for something that explains it away? Or at least something that gives a sort of believable answer. A book, a quote, a person who seems to know, an institution, a brand, something ready-made. And the moment we find it, the discomfort kind of settles. But what actually changed? Because something doesn't fully add up here. If the goal of the search is to understand, why does the process ends the moment we feel a bit certain again? It might be that what we call searching isn't really searching. It might be something closer to replacing uncertainty with a comforting answer. Not necessarily seeing more, only feeling a bit more anchored. And if that's the case, what happens when the discomfort isn't immediately resolved? Do we know how to stay with it, even for a moment? Or does it always push us outward towards something that feels certain? If the movement is always outward, then what is actually guiding the search? And if certainty is always found outside, what happens to the part inside that never gets resolved in the first place? We have now reached the stage of our usual layers, and today we're going to look at 3. The layer number 1 is concealment. For, like we said, when the discomfort or doubt appears, we don't just stay with it. We either try to solve it immediately, or we try to hide it. From the outside, it can look like confidence, clarity, certainty, a well-formed opinion, a refined identity, nice clothing, fancy tattoos, fit body, etc. It can be convincing to others. It might even look complete. But underneath that, does the discomfort actually disappear? Or does it remain just less visible? Because even if it's hidden from the outside, how far can it really be hidden from ourselves? It's still there, quiet maybe, pushed back perhaps, but not gone. And then something else begins to happen. We start holding on to things that feel stable enough, that we would otherwise not do. Ideas, beliefs, positions, almost like something to stay afloat. And from the outside, it can look solid, like there's something to stand on. But if what we're holding on to hasn't really come from direct experience, then what exactly are we relying on in that moment? And if the discomfort underneath hasn't actually been seen, only covered, then what happens when that surface starts to shift? What are we really standing on then? The layer number 2 is substitution, because it's all about the way we respond to the discomfort. When it shows up, we don't just hide it, we try to solve it immediately, like treating a symptom without addressing the cause. We look for something that explains it, something that makes sense, and the moment we find it, there's relief, a sense that it's been handled. But what exactly was resolved in that moment? Was it the discomfort itself, or just the feeling of not knowing? Because those two can feel very similar. And if we don't stay long enough to see the difference, they can easily become the same. And then something else slips in, almost unnoticed. The explanation doesn't have to be complete. It doesn't even have to fully match the experience. It just has to feel convincing enough, clear enough, structured enough, backed up by something or someone that sounds certain or appears that way. And once that's there, we tend to accept it. Not necessarily because we've seen it for ourselves, but because it seems to explain what we are feeling, what we're going through, at least close enough to settle it. So instead of trying to understand what we are actually experiencing, we begin to rely on explanations that come ready-made, borrowed, adopted. And if they remove the discomfort, we rarely go back to question them. But if something only partially explains what's there, if it only appears to resolve it, how would we notice the difference? Especially if the feeling of certainty arrives before the understanding itself. And if that happens often enough, what do we start trusting more in those moments? Our direct experience, or the explanations of others that replace it? And this leads to layer number 3, because if all of this keeps happening, if the discomfort keeps getting covered, explained, replaced, sometimes with something that only partially fits but feels clear enough, then something else begins to change. Not the discomfort itself, but our relationship to what replaces it. Because instead of staying with what's there, we get used to accepting what resolves it again and again. And over time, the acceptance starts to feel natural, automatic. So when something doesn't feel clear, when something doesn't fully make sense, do we still look directly at it? Or do we recognize the feeling and already know what to reach out for? An explanation, a person, a framework, an institution that sounds certain, something that appears reliable. And if that response becomes familiar enough, at what point does the explanation come before the actual observation? At what point do we stop checking and start assuming we already know? And if what we rely on was never fully seen by ourselves, then what exactly are we trusting in those moments? And this isn't limited to one area. It shows up in how we think, how we learn, how we form beliefs. If something feels uncertain, we move quickly to resolve it. If something feels uncomfortable, we replace it. And if the replacement feels clear enough, we rarely return to what was originally seen. So over time, what we carry does not come from direct experience, but from what has been gathered, assembled, accepted along the way, but originated from the outside, from others. And at that point, it becomes difficult to tell where observation ends and interpretation begins. So if every moment of doubt is quickly covered, if every question is met with a ready answer, what happens to the space where questioning actually forms? And if what we see, what we assume, and what we repeat all begin to feel equally familiar, how would we notice when something is being seen directly and when it is already labeled before even fully seen? At this point, two modes of operation begin to appear. The follower moves quickly toward resolution. He looks outward towards data, opinions, explanations, reviews, achievements. He wants to be convinced, satisfied by something external, something that appears certain enough to settle uncertainty. His effort is the effort of the mind. The seeker does not immediately turn outward. He does not rush to collect explanations. He turns inward, toward a direct sensing of what is present, not through analysis alone, but through what can only be called the cognitive ability of the heart, a kind of inner perception that does not rely on external validation. From this place, he can remain with uncertainty without needing to resolve it. He is fine with not knowing. For him, the path is not constructed out of outside data, but sensed from within, moment by moment. From the outside, both seeker and follower can appear the same. Both read, both listen, both question. But the way they operate is not the same. And if the seeker and the follower are distinct ways of acting underneath while appearing similar on the surface, then something more becomes less clear. Because what often looks like searching can also look like moving towards something already certain, towards something that appears resolved, something that settles the uncertainty. And if both movements can look similar while they are happening, how easily can we tell the difference while we are in it, while we are in this process? Or are we only able to see it afterwards when it has already taken place? And if that is the case, what exactly are we calling searching at all?